5, 4, 3, 2. What?
Start all over. Because I was taking a drink of my...
You know I'm not editing this out, right?
Really? You would do that to me.
You really want me to?
You don't have to, I guess.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good morning. Why do you do that? Huh?
I don't know. What are you drinking? Coffee?
Cadillac.
You're drinking coffee at this time?
It's morning.
Oh.
Good morning. Have coffee
then
with us.
It looks really bad that I'm drinking a Zevia. But it has no sugar, no nothing. It's Zevia.
Ohio.
But then I have water because it was only one last drink. Anyways, hi everybody.
Good Cadillac. What? Why? So the first minute, people just watch us drink coffee, water, whatever that is over there. Why didn't we do that before we hit record?
I don't know, because we want to compartir con ustedes.
Interpret that.
We just want to partake with you guys. That's why.
So.
Hi guys.
Hi. How's it going?
So what did you guys do today?
Me?
That's nice. No, I didn't ask you. I
them.
asked them. Well, good. I'm glad you guys did all that.
No, not you.
I'm glad you guys stayed home the way we stayed home.
Not you. You. What'd you do?
I'm glad you guys stayed home the way we stayed home.
Yeah.
Well, I worked. And then I went from the office to the living room.
That's a long commute.
I know. I went from the office to the dining room. And in the dining room, I made 4 face masks today. Very proud of myself.
And I made a gourmet dinner.
You boiled hot dogs.
That's gourmet in some countries. So.
He boiled hot dogs, guys.
Yeah, but I put out every condiment imaginable.
He put out the mayonnaise, the mustard, the ketchup. He put a little bit of cheese and some relish.
And barbecue sauce.
Okay.
Every condiment imaginable. It was like a buffet. Gourmet buffet.
It was, honey. Thank you.
You know what was messed up, guys? I'm going to admit to you. All day yesterday, I'm like, tomorrow's my mom's birthday. Tomorrow's my mom's birthday. My daughter texts me, Dad, is Grandma's birthday tomorrow? Yeah, tomorrow's Grandma's birthday. And then I forget.
He forgot her birthday.
Oh
she had to call him tonight, which is yesterday for you guys. She had to call him and remind him, like, today was my birthday. Do you feel bad?
I'm a horrible son.
Did that hurt your heart?
Yes, because I remembered all the day before. I'm like, tomorrow's my mom's birthday.
And then you forgot.
Yeah.
You're so mean.
It's a superhero's fault.
God. But anyhow, guys, I'm going to say that today for me was such an awesome day because, I got to talk to a lot of, like, really partake and just go back and forth with a lot of the church family. Mm-hmm. And I love that. I really, really love that. Just being able to say hello and just...
They're all right people.
You sure are all right. Yeah. Just being able to go back and interact back and forth, send pictures. I made a video, like a 3-minute video, like of going back the whole year, just the whole year, pictures from the whole year, different events and different things throughout the church. For they probably seen pictures that they've never seen before. They're like, what? Mm-hmm. But I have so many pictures. I'm like the type of person, because I used to do photography. I love photography. So I like to snap all kinds of just different moments and different pictures at different events and different things. And, I'm just a picture taker. That's probably why I'm not always in many pictures, because I love to be the one to take pictures. Yeah. And then there's one of the other brothers, Johnny. Johnny got so into taking pictures too. Mm-hmm. So I'm really happy that there's someone other than me that started taking pictures too. And
He's been, though.
yeah, and he always sends them to me. So between him and I, man, we got the whole church covered, and I love it because he does that. So, I sent them a nice little video because I just wanted them to just have those moments and for them to be like, and then I do, and then Sister Phyllis will, don't forget about the RBT, Relevant Bible Talk people. And you know what? And I do have pictures. So I am going to put a little collage, a little video together of our RBT people in the house.
Not that again.
But I'm going to put something together for y'all, okay? Something cute, because I do have some. When Sheila was down here, when we went to San Fran with Phyllis, and then Felix sends us pictures at times when his kids are watching the TV. I have stuff with Robert Gallegos. I have stuff of Adam because I'll steal some off of Facebook.
Yeah.
I have some of the Figueroa family. I
About
have
Christy.
God, yep. I have some of Christy too. And then when her daughter got married.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I got pictures of a lot of y'all, okay? I got lots of you guys, so trust me. And if you guys haven't sent me any, I'll go onto your Facebook and I'll steal some.
Wow.
I'll be a stalker that way. But man, I just love you guys so much, and it just brings joy to my heart. You asked me earlier if there was something specific I wanted to talk about. And I think I would like to continue in the book of Acts, and continue to talk about the community and to talk about how everybody did come together as a community, and talk about that good part of the book of Acts as well. Because
there was a couple corrections, actually. I wanted to correct myself from yesterday.
Okay.
I think I had said or made it sound like, but John is not buried next to Mary. They're not there. History shows and letters show that they have Mary's house where she lived in Ephesus, which they say substantiates the fact that John brought her there, because his tomb is there.
Okay.
Like, not only there traditionally, but it's in letters that go back, because the books of the Bible weren't the only people that wrote. Everybody wrote, just like now. There's emails and letters that go out. So there's letters that have been found to prove and substantiate, and that is John's tomb. And so there's a little house that they have made it into brick now, because back then they didn't build houses with bricks, just to kind of what's it called, where it doesn't fall away, or like reinforce or restore or renovate.
Restore it, to keep it restored.
Yeah, but so Mary's house is believed to be there on this little hill. And
I could just envision that.
Yeah. Another thing I found out just in looking at that is that
I want to look it up.
Tradition shows that Mary only lived 11 more years after Jesus.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, think about it. It makes sense, because she was about 14 when Jesus was born. She was young, right? And Jesus was 33 when he died.
I bring my glasses now. Okay,
right?
Go ahead.
So that's 33, 43, 47. So she died at 58 years old, which is kind of normal back then, because back then, people died young, because, our health is different here now, So tradition shows that she died at 58, and she died in Ephesus.
Yeah.
But that can be proven. Now, if you Google Mary's tomb, it goes back to Jerusalem now. Did you find it?
Yeah, I found it.
Yeah. So if you go back to Mary's tomb, you'll see that the Catholic Church believes that she was buried in Jerusalem. Okay. I was already going to show it on there.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, but I mean, if you want to show it like now.
Yeah, you can see.
That's fine. That saves me from editing.
Right? Look at that.
So that's the house of Mary.
Yeah, that is so cool.
That is in Ephesus, in the city where John was a overseer. He was a bishop or a pastor. John was an overseer of 7 churches, and one of them was Ephesus, where he died, where he's buried. So the thing about the Catholic Church is, and none of us will ever know because none of us were ever there, is the fact that many, for some reason, like every old Catholic church, they had to have some kind of artifact in order for people to go there. Like, for instance, they'd be like, hey, look, we're opening this church here. Why? Because the nails that held Jesus are there. So then everybody goes to see the nails of Jesus. And then they say, like, Mary, she died here. So then they build a church there. So it's almost as if they felt like
a representation of...
like they had to do something to draw the people there. And then they would build a church around that cause. So it's kind of weird. And I don't want to look at it through westernized eyes. So I don't know, why the thing, but I honestly, again, I don't know, but I kind of don't believe all of it.
Is that how the worship of idols became because of different
it can lead to that.
And all of that?
It could lead to that, and I think that sometimes a Catholic, because their whole thing was to spread the gospel, right? But in order to spread the gospel, how could you get people to go to that church? So you tell them there's some kind of special relic there. That's what draws people. Like, I'm just making things up, but like Paul's pins that he wrote the book of Corinthians in, so they'll have this shrine with his pins there, and then they build a church. And you know what I mean? So
I'm going to put your sock. And
nobody will go.
Sock is right here.
But... So there's a church that is where Jesus' tomb was, and there's a huge cathedral there.
Yeah.
There's a church where Mary was buried in so I don't know, and we'll never know. But I do believe that things were exaggerated, things were lied upon, because a lot of these churches were built hundreds of years after the fact.
Yeah.
Like, how do you know those are the nails that held Jesus? Like, there was a lot of people that were crucified as criminals. So all of a sudden, 400 years later, you build a church because of the nails. So it's like, I don't know. But there's certain things like the tomb of John that go back not only by tradition, but by letters of the churches, So I just wanted to, because I didn't want somebody to look into it and be like, he's not buried next there, and be like, oh, David must lie about everything else then. That's why I wanted to
clarify.
Yeah, to clarify that, guys.
Well, good. So I thought it'd be really nice, given the fact that today was a day that I seen so much, I don't know, just, that everybody was just partaking and sharing and all of that.
And what?
And even though we weren't physically sharing of encouragement and pictures and just, just being so loving towards one another and all of that, and so uplifting towards one another. I thought that was something wonderful. And I think during these times, I think we got to share the good things as well. I think it's important.
Well, the book of Acts, like I said the other day, people weren't really sure what Christianity looked like yet.
Yeah.
They were actually shaping it out.
They were just learning.
Yeah, they were just learning, but some things were very primal that they did in the very beginning. And I believe that is because this was how Jesus was. Jesus says, follow after me. Yeah. And Jesus came humble, and he was loving, and he was compassionate, and he had mercy. So because of that, the believers of Jesus were compassionate and loving, and they cared for each other, and...
Well, I think that there were some things that we got to remember that what he exemplified, some things were more simplified too, and if there's some things that were more simplified to follow, then it's going to be simple to do.
Yeah.
And I think that those were some of the more simpler things to do. there's some things that you need to figure out
Yeah.
to do, and that become a little bit harder to do. And when things become harder, sometimes it's easier for people to not want to follow because it becomes harder. And I think that's where people become to sway, or people go a whole different direction because they're like, oh man, this is getting a little bit harder. So they tend to go a whole different direction because it becomes harder. But the simple things, I think people do follow because they're easier to follow, you know? So I think in that time, those were the more simpler things to follow at the beginning.
Jesus summed it up, because this person came up to him and asked him, what's the most important commandment of all? They thought they were going to trick him. And he says, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one, to love God with all your heart, all your soul, your might, and all your strength. And likewise, love your neighbor.
Love thy neighbor. Yeah.
So at the very base, the 10 Commandments, guys, I don't know if you ever noticed, but the 10 Commandments, the first 5 commandments are toward God. The last 5 are toward humans. You know, like for instance, thou shalt worship no other God. Thou shalt not make another image. And then the other ones are like, thou shalt not covet. Thou shalt not commit murder. So they're toward man.
Yeah.
So Jesus broke the 10 Commandments down into 2. Is love God with everything, love people with everything. And that's the basis of Christianity right there. So in the book of Acts, even though they didn't have things figured out, they knew to love each other.
Yeah.
They knew to have community. They knew that, hey, if I have food, you will never go hungry.
Amen.
If I have a blanket, you will never be cold. You know, and that at the core, at the very root of Christianity is that. Like, there's that old song, they will know us by our love. You know? Guys, in the Roman culture at that time, for instance, criminals were thrown into just mass graves. Women were considered like second-class citizens. They weren't respected. So it wasn't until Christianity that the respect of women came. It wasn't until Christianity that they began to give people proper, that's why they call it a proper Christian burial. Because Christians are the ones that would take people that weren't Christians, but out of respect to their families and to that person and to they believed that every life was precious, they would bury them. You know, hospitals, people would care because it came out of Christianity. So in the first church in Book of Acts, they shared everything. They shared everything. And I know that's hard to understand in the United States, because we can have people in the church. I mean, even our church, it's almost like everybody's financial stuff is private, because it's kind of weird, you know, to be like, so you'll have people at the church that own a beautiful home, you know, multiple cars in the garage, you know, and then there's people in the same church that don't even know how they're going to pay the rent. And they're together, you know. And so I think it was a lot more open back then.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, because there was no middle class. You were either poor or you were rich. And if you were poor, then you put things, you know how there's times we would feed somebody that was hungry.
Yeah.
And what did they do? They called other people that were homeless to feed them the food we gave them.
Yeah.
You know, and in a sense, it was like that, like, you know.
Help one another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and it's
coming together. I think it's coming together. It's a community, like, you know, like the true saying, it takes a village. It takes a village to raise, you know, the children of the village. It takes a village just to raise a community, and it really does. It takes one another to uplift. It takes one another to encourage. It takes one another to do everything in general. You know, we can't do it alone. And I think that this right now is just really giving us an opportunity. I think what is taking place right now is really opening up our eyes to how much we really truly need each other.
Yeah.
So much more than what we even realized. I think it's now teaching us more appreciation for the little things, because I think we've taken the little things so much more for granted than what we even realized. And I'm not saying that in a vain way, because we didn't walk around vainly and walk around with our nose up high. Well, some do, but we don't walk around thinking, being boastful or anything like that. But sometimes we miss the mark, and we don't do it intentionally. Mm-hmm. We just get so busy, and the world has become so busy, and we miss the little things, the little mark. I was talking to my mom the other day, and I've told her this before so many times, and she's so quick to she lives in a senior living community that has over 340 people in that senior. It's huge, huh? Mm-hmm. It's a huge senior living community. And my mom is going close to 70, and she's considered one of the babies there. She's one of the youngest ones there. And so, to her, she just kind of feels like, God, maybe I don't belong here. I shouldn't be here. But at the same time, I've told her this in the past, Mom, there's a reason why God has you here. And, she didn't realize until maybe about a year and a half ago, where she all of a sudden was cooking for a lot of the older people there. She started making, lunches and dinners, and started feeding the elderly that weren't even getting visitors, or they were in their 90s, and none of their kids would come visit them or anything. And then my mom just all of a sudden just started making them and delivering, and just, and just loving them. And then to the point where there's one who's 99 years old, Millie.
She's 99?
She's 99. Loves her like a daughter. And my mom just takes care of her and cares for her. I mean, they just have an immense love for one another. And now that this whole epidemic thing is happening and everything, my mom is just so stuck in her house, has not gone out, doesn't, go out or anything, but she was getting so overwhelmed at the beginning of the days. She's feeling frustrated. I can sense, and I felt it, the overwhelmness and the depression was starting to set in. And then she pulled out her sewing machine, and she made one mask. She made herself a mask, and then she made another mask. And then another one. And then she says that she hung one on somebody's door. And then she hung another one on somebody's door in a baggie. And then she just started making masks for the elderly there that didn't even have any. And now she gets up and she has a schedule.
Remember, guys, I told you about programming?
She has programmed herself, and she calls it her little job right now. And her job is to make sure that she's making little masks for the elderly there in her little senior center. Yeah. And her way of doing it is to make sure that she protects herself, but she goes and she makes sure that they're all cleaned up really well, and that she bags them up, disinfects them good, leaves them on people's door, leaves a little note that they need to make sure that they're washed, and does, double disinfects them, puts them on their door. And she's now getting little notes at her door, little thank you letters, and she's getting all these little cards telling them that how she is saving their lives. And man, to see the smile on my mom's face, and to hear that, when you have somebody who is happy, and when you have somebody who smiles, it releases good endorphins in our body, in our brain. It does good things. And what that does, it uplifts your spirit, and it helps you keep your immune system strong. It helps you. And, I'm so grateful for that. So it's important.
Yeah, everybody needs a purpose.
We need that.
Everybody. And a lot of times when I meet a believer that is feeling down in the dumps, or they feel like backsliding, or they feel like leaving God, or usually 99.9% is because they're idle. They're idle. Think of it this way: those of you that work, would you rather your job be busy, or would you rather just be sitting there at work? When you sit at work with nothing to do, those 8 hours take forever.
OMG, yes,
but
they do.
When you're busy, it feels like you clocked in. Next thing you know, it's like it's lunch. What? And next thing you know, it's the end of the day. It's the same thing in Christ. So everybody needs a purpose, guys.
Yes.
And you got to find what your purpose is. You got to find, okay, we're locked in. What can I do? And man, it does wonders for you. You have no idea, guys, that we're very social creatures because we are pastors, and having to be stuck here. And then we go on Sunday and don't see anybody. We go on Wednesday, don't see anybody. We need this devotional as much as you guys, so we don't go stir crazy. We need this, because even though you're not answering back, you answer back in the comments. That's why I'm like, please leave a comment, because that's my way. I'm sure I'm speaking for you too, of getting a response back. When you're watching this, and a few of you are leaving comments as you're watching it. Like, I can by your comment, I can tell you're like 10 minutes into the video.
Yeah.
And
if you ever don't see him on the video or something like that, then
on the video,
yeah, like if you ever don't see him on a devotional or something, something's happened to him.
I don't get it. So
You're that was a joke, babe.
Oh, I took it as a threat. Hitting the mic.
Oh, like something's gonna happen to you, because we're gonna go stir crazy, babe. It's a joke.
One of my old favorite movies is called Stir Crazy.
Is it?
Yeah.
You're not good at jokes.
I'm amazing at jokes.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
You're horrible because you didn't even get it. It went.
No, I just thought you were gonna kill me.
But that was a joke.
But I'm really scared now.
No, you're not. See, that was your joke, huh?
No.
See, that's your kind of joke. Your kind of joke is like goofy. Oh my God.
What?
My Lord. My Lord. My Lord. Ah!
So, what are we talking about anyways? Just the way they were in Book of Acts, right?
Yes.
The community they had and whatnot.
Community.
What are you doing? You feel like DJing? You need me to order some turntables on Amazon?
Yeah, I could DJ for them.
Yeah, guys. So, it's if we don't have that core thing in the very base of this, then what are we doing? Like the 1 Corinthians chapter 13, it says, if you have this and this and this and you don't have love, then it's like it's nothing. It's nothing.
I really, really loved that. I had been trying to figure out, as I'm sure that we mentioned that on Sunday, we went to go see one of our dear sisters who, her husband passed away, that Easter Sunday. And, I had been trying to figure out, okay, what is, being that we're on this lockdown and everything, what is the best way for us? Because usually what we like to do is kind of get a group together so that the women can go take meals and be there for the family and do what we need to do. But being this situation the way it is right now, it's impossible because we can't put anybody in harm's way. We can't do any of that. And I just love the way, one of the sisters reached out today and she gave such an amazing idea. And she says, well, why don't we come together and order food, and have food ordered to the family. And, we put our brains together and we found a solution so that we can be able to come together to be able to provide for our family right now, because right now that family needs all the support and help so that they don't have to worry about anything right now, And so we said, okay, what can we do so that we don't overfill them with so much food or anything, because we don't want to have all kinds of food ordered to them. So let's get some gift cards for restaurants over to them or something over to them. And let's just get their
the ones that deliver.
Yes, the ones that deliver, let's figure out a way. Let's just get our house arrest family, to just be able to send cards of encouragement and, and all of that over to them. But see, that's what community does. And that's what family does.
Yeah.
We come together immediately and we step in. We begin to pray. We begin to encourage. We begin to speak life. We begin to do things that are going to ease the load.
Yeah.
We begin to do things that are going to ease anything that is going to just ease any type of load so that that person can be able to do what they need to do.
Yeah.
At this time, that's this difficult time, So it's community. It takes a village. And this is why it's so important that we love thy neighbor. This is why it's so important that we know where we stand as a community, as a family.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I love when I see you guys interacting, why I love when I see you guys taking the time to get to know one another on here. When you guys reach out to one another, when you guys take the time to just say hello. I love when they do that.
Yeah.
Don't be shy. Don't hold back. Come on here and say hello to one another.
Well, a lot of times, like when we do say Sunday service, obviously I'm behind the pulpit, so I have no idea what you guys are talking about. But I do go back and scroll through the live feed of the chat, and I'm able to see people, and I see a lot of you. Like you'll see a new name, and like 3 or 4 of you will welcome that person in. That never happens. Like that doesn't happen. So I mean, that's what you're talking about. Yeah,
and I can almost picture it, you guys. Like if it really is like on Truly Sunday morning. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that you've actually began to put that beginning of the entrance where at the beginning where you have the house arrest logo. I love that he's doing that now because it's going to give you guys the time to interact.
Yeah, it's like a meet and greet.
Yes, it's almost like a meet and greet at the beginning. I'm glad that he's giving you guys those 5, 6, 7 minutes so that you guys can be able to do that. So that way you guys can do that and then focus on the sermon when the sermon is there. I'm glad because I see it. I see the interaction. You guys are building lifetime friendships, relationships, family. You guys are doing that.
Yeah.
And,
awesome.
And I can't even begin to tell you how beautiful it feels. Man, we've had people here in our home that we've met on here.
Yeah.
And you know how wonderful that feels? Our children know each other now. Our children are can you imagine how beautiful it's going to be to see that our kids will end up continuing this legacy, that they're going to be the ones up there in the pulpit one day, that they're the ones that are going to be in the worship one day, that they're the ones that are leading the media, that they're the ones that are going to be running these churches. They're the ones that are going to be, serving God together.
Yeah.
We get to see them get married. We get to see them, our grandchildren. We get to be the old folks sitting back watching our children doing what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
You know how cool that is? And this is why I tell, the young couples within our church right now, please don't go anywhere. Stay focused on God. Stay serving Jesus, because I want to be part of that child's life when they grow up. I want to be there when they graduate. I want to be there when they get married. I want to be there when they have their first child. I want to be there. I want to be there all their lives. I want to be there as long as God gives me life. I want to be there. I want to see them. I'd love to see that. When I see some of the kids that I used to change their diapers, from my old church. I know. I used to change their diapers in my old church, and I see them now serving God, and I see them with their children. I see them married, and I see some of them preaching, and I see all that. It makes me feel so good to see them serving God, and I want to see that with our children.
Yeah.
So, community, guys. Community, let's have that. Let's keep that. And let's cherish that, and let's value that. Jesus wants that.
We said the other day that the book of Acts, like we say, I want to be like the church of book of Acts. And I said, there's some things about the Acts, but the maturity should be in Ephesians. But this is the part we're talking about in Acts that is good.
The good part.
It's the fellowship. It's the family. It's the community. So if we want to go to a book of, to be a book of Acts church in the spirit of fellowship, yes. And that's why we're talking about that, because we kind of been talking about, the last few days, what happened after the resurrection, and hopefully it gives you more of an insight. We didn't even read a scripture today, but hopefully it gives you an insight of the direction of that they were going at that time. And another thing, I'll end it with this note. When the book of Acts was happening, they didn't have a New Testament Bible. It wasn't written yet. They were living it. So in the same sense, us, even though we didn't use the scripture today, we're just living this thing out, in the same sense, and they didn't have a Bible. They had the Old Testament. They didn't have Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They weren't sitting in the book of Acts talking about, hey, I'm going to read out of John chapter 5. It wasn't even written yet. So.
You know what I love? I love the fact that we're all being kind of quarantined right now, and there is no ending to the book of Acts. What if this is our opportunity to give it and rewrite that ending?
Yeah. Well, we are.
We have that opportunity, because I know that there is going to be a revival. Mm-hmm. I know that something tremendous is going to take place in this world. And I think it's time for that awakening to happen.
Yeah. There's no way the world paused and God didn't notice, or God doesn't have a purpose. Come on.
Yeah.
Something is about to happen. All this didn't happen for nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I believe that.
Yeah.
But we leave you with that, you guys. We love you guys, and community. Community is everything.
All right, guys.
We love you.
Have a good morning.
Bye, family.
Bye.